All right, so we're diving deep into this whole prosecutor thing today. We got a ton of intel from RoleCatcher. Career guides, interview questions, even some AI stuff, like really helping you get ready for this interview.
It's amazing. RoleCatcher even breaks down like what a prosecutor's entire career looks like from like day one to when you're like super experienced.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. But for now, let's focus on the interview.
Okay, so first, like why do you even want to be a prosecutor? I bet they ask that, right? And I bet they want something more than I want to help people.
Yeah, for sure. You got to go deeper than that.
Wait,
Like beyond just caring about justice, give them your story. Why are you right for this? RoleCatcher says, think about a moment that made you decide to do this. Like, was there a specific case that hit you or a mentor who inspired you? Maybe even something that happened to you personally
Yeah.
that helped you understand the law better.
I see. So instead of just saying you're passionate, you're giving them a story to show them why this isn't just a job for you, but more like a calling. Exactly. Don't be afraid to make it personal. A real story. Told well. Will stick with them way more than some generic answer.
Okay, so you nailed the first impression. Now they start digging into your actual experience with criminal law. This is where you bring up those internships and mock trials and stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's time to connect those experiences to actually being a prosecutor. Did you intern at a public defender's office? Did that give you both sides of the story? Did you do mock trials? How'd that help you build your arguments?
You're showing them you can actually do the work.
And RoleCatcher has a great tip. Tailor your answer to the specific job. Like if it's about white-collar crime, highlight your financial experience. If it's cybercrime, talk about digital evidence.
Smart. So you're showing them you have exactly what they need.
I
That's the next question. They ask you how you actually build a case against someone. Feels like they're trying to get inside your head.
Oh, yeah, they are. This question is all about your investigative skills. Do you understand the law? Can you think strategically?
So you can't just say, I'd gather evidence. You got to walk them through it.
Right. Think about it. You get a case. What are the very first things you do? How do you even know what evidence you can use? What about witnesses? How do you work with the police?
So you're showing them you have a process.
And don't forget to mention different types of evidence, like forensic stuff, digital stuff, eyewitness testimony, whatever's relevant to the job.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. This job is intense, right? How do you handle the pressure?
Yeah, they want to see how tough you are. Can you handle stress? Do you know yourself? Can you stay professional even when things are tough?
So they don't want someone who says they never get stressed. More like how you deal with it.
Right. Show them you have healthy ways to cope, like exercise, mindfulness, time management, even your support system, anything that keeps you grounded.
So you're saying, yeah, this job is tough, but I can handle it.
And don't be afraid to share a time you faced pressure and got through it.
All right, let's talk about the human side of things. How do you talk to victims and their families? I feel like empathy is really important here.
You got it. Show them you can communicate clearly and with compassion with people going through really tough times.
So it's not just about the law. You got to be a human being first.
Exactly. RoleCatcher really emphasizes listening to them, being patient, and explaining those complicated legal things in a way they can understand.
You're like their guide through this tough time.
And don't forget about being culturally sensitive. Different communities express grief and trauma in different ways. Gotta be respectful of that.
So you're building trust with people who are relying on you. This feels really important for a prosecutor.
Absolutely. It's something they'll be watching for.
All right, another big one. How do you stay updated on all the changes in the law? I feel like they ask that in any legal job.
It's true. The law is always changing, so show them you're always learning. What journals do you read? What conferences do you go to? Any legal blogs you follow? Even just your own reading habits. Show them you're staying informed.
So it's like, hey, I didn't just stop learning after law school.
Yeah, and here's how you impress them. Mention a recent Supreme Court ruling or a new law that changes things.
So you're not just reading stuff. You're thinking about what it means in the real world. Okay, let's wrap up part one with this. Tell me about a tough case you worked on and how you handled it.
It's story time, but it's also a chance to show them you can solve problems, that you're resilient,
Yeah.
and that you're dedicated to justice.
What kind of story should I tell?
Think about a case that really challenged you. Maybe there wasn't much evidence, or the witnesses wouldn't cooperate, or it was legally complicated, maybe even some ethical dilemmas.
So walk them through your thought process.
Yeah. How did you figure things out? How do you get information? What legal strategies did you come up with? Any roadblocks along the way?
It's like showing them you can think clearly even under pressure.
Exactly.
Wow, we've covered a lot in part one. We've got a good idea of what they're looking for.
Yeah, but there's still more. In part 2, we'll get into RoleCatcher's insights on how a prosecutor's career actually progresses and how you can set yourself up for success.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll keep giving you the tools you need to ace that interview.
We'll see you there. Welcome back to our deep dive on becoming a prosecutor. Last time we covered some tough interview questions, but now let's look at what your career might actually look like. RoleCatcher has a guide that outlines 4 stages. It can help you see where you fit in and what to expect along the way.
It's like a roadmap for your career. Okay, so let's break it down. What's it like starting out as an entry-level prosecutor?
Well, according to RoleCatcher, you mostly assist the more senior prosecutors, doing legal research, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses. You're basically soaking up knowledge and building those core skills. They say communication is key at this stage, paying attention to detail, and really understanding the law.
So no jumping right into the big courtroom battles yet.
Right. It's all about learning the ropes and showing you're dedicated.
Okay, so you've put in the work, learned the basics. What happens next?
You become a junior prosecutor. Now you start taking on more responsibility. You might handle smaller cases, do your own investigations, even help present cases in court.
So you're actually getting some courtroom experience.
Exactly. RoleCatcher says research skills are really important here, along with collaboration. And staying up to date on the law, you're applying what you've learned, building confidence, and honing those legal skills, but still with guidance from more experienced prosecutors.
This is where that law degree really comes in handy, I bet.
For sure. They say you usually need a Juris Doctor degree, and you have to be licensed to practice law at this level.
Okay, so what's after junior prosecutor?
Mid-level prosecutor. Now things get interesting.
Ooh, tell me more.
You handle a wider variety of cases. You analyze those complex legal issues, develop strategies. You might even supervise and mentor junior prosecutors. Really strong investigative skills are a must, along with top-notch communication. And you need a proven track record of success in court.
You're becoming a real leader on the team.
That's right.
Okay, and finally, the top of the mountain. Senior prosecutor.
This is the big leagues.
What does it take to get there?
You're handling the most complex and high-profile cases, leading investigations, working with all sorts of law enforcement agencies. You might even present cases in appeals courts. You need exceptional writing skills. You have to be super persuasive. And you need a deep understanding of legal precedents.
You're not just a legal expert anymore. You're a mentor, a leader, a true authority in the legal world.
Exactly. Knowing these different stages can help you answer those interview questions.
I see. You can focus on the skills that matter most for the level you're going for.
Speaking of tailoring your answers, let's talk about RoleCatcher's AI. It can really boost your interview prep.
We touched on this before, but how does AI actually help?
Okay, imagine this. You're getting ready for a specific prosecutor job. Let's say it focuses on cybercrime. You take that job description and you plug it into RoleCatcher.
And then the AI does its thing.
Exactly. It analyzes the description and figures out the exact skills and experience they want. Then it suggests ways to talk about those skills in your interview.
So it's like a personalized coach, helping you hit all the right notes.
That's a great way to put it, but it goes even further. You can practice your answers, either by writing them down or recording yourself. And the AI will give you feedback on how you sound, your tone, even your body language.
Like a mock interview with an expert, but focused on the exact job you want.
It's super valuable, helps you fine-tune everything, and makes you come across as confident and ready for the challenge. Now let's get back to those interview questions. Remember how we talked about staying updated on the law? What if they ask you to give a specific example of a recent change and how it affects your work?
That's a tough follow-up question. How do you handle that?
Show them you're not just reading about the law, but you're actually thinking about how it works in real life.
Don't just mention a new law. Connect the dots.
Right. Maybe talk about a Supreme Court ruling that changes how evidence is used in court, or a new law that affects sentencing guidelines. Show them you understand the details and how those details matter in practice.
So you're not just informed, you're insightful. Okay, now what if they throw a hypothetical question at you? Like, imagine your key witness suddenly won't cooperate. What do you do?
Hypotheticals. They want to see your judgment, your problem-solving skills, how you think on your feet. Stay calm. Think it through logically, and explain your reasoning clearly.
It's not about having the right answer. It's about showing them you can analyze the situation.
Right. In that example, you might talk about finding other evidence, talking to the witness again, maybe even reevaluating if you should continue the case, It's all about strategic decision-making.
Crucial for a prosecutor.
Absolutely. Now imagine they ask you about a tough decision you made in a case, and then they follow up with, looking back, would you have done things differently?
They want to see if you're self-aware.
Yes. And if you're willing to learn from your mistakes.
So it's okay to admit you might have made a different choice.
Of course. Nobody's perfect. Interviewers appreciate honesty. The key is to explain what you learned and how it changed your approach going forward.
It's like saying, I'm always trying to improve.
Exactly. It shows you're not stuck in your ways, that you're always trying to get better.
Okay, we've talked about career paths, AI prep, and handling those follow-up questions. What other gems does RoleCatcher have for us?
Let's dig into some of the more nuanced parts of being a prosecutor. How about this? Tell me about a time you had to balance the needs of the victim with the rights of the accused.
Ooh, that's a good one. Gets right to the heart of those ethical dilemmas.
It does. Prosecutors have to walk a fine line. They want to see if you understand that.
So what kind of story would you tell?
Think about a case where you had to make a tough choice. Maybe offering a plea bargain, even if the victim wanted something harsher, or maybe arguing for leniency in sentencing. When the circumstances called for compassion, it's about making those tough calls while still upholding the law.
Ties back to what we talked about before.
He does.
This whole deep dive has been so insightful. RoleCatcher's given us so much to think about.
Yes.
From interview tips to understanding a prosecutor's career and all the ethical stuff that comes with it. Okay, so before we wrap up part 2, let's talk about some of the real challenges and rewards of this job.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. And keep helping you become the best prosecutor candidate you can be in part 3. Welcome back to our deep dive on becoming a prosecutor. We've talked about how to answer those tough questions and what your career might look like. But now, let's get real. What are some of the toughest parts of actually being a prosecutor?
RoleCatcher talks about the emotional side of things, dealing with difficult cases, working with victims and their families. It's not easy to stay objective when you're constantly seeing the impact of crime on real people's lives.
Yeah, it's not just about the law. There's a real human element to it.
And then there's the pressure of making those big decisions, knowing that your choices can really change someone's life. Prosecutors have a lot of power, and that comes with a lot of responsibility.
Sounds like you need a mix of legal skills,
Random.
resilience, and empathy.
Exactly. But there are also huge rewards. RoleCatcher talks about the sense of purpose you get from fighting for justice, protecting your community.
It's not just a job then. It's a calling.
Right. Knowing that you're making a difference, holding people accountable, helping those who can't help themselves. That's powerful stuff.
And there's the intellectual challenge, too. Constantly learning about the law, keeping up with all the changes.
It definitely keeps you on your toes.
Okay, so we've talked about the realities of the job. Let's get back to those interview questions. RoleCatcher has a few more that are worth going over, like this one. What are your strengths and weaknesses as a prosecutor?
That's a classic. But it's tricky for a role like this. You got to be honest. But also highlight what makes you qualified.
So don't pretend you're perfect.
Right. Show them your strengths, but admit where you need to improve.
Okay, so for strengths, what should I focus on?
Think about the things that make a good prosecutor. Analytical skills, attention to detail, strong communication, being able to argue your case well, handling pressure, ethical behavior.
And for weaknesses?
Pick something you're actively working on, maybe public speaking, or handling those unexpected things that happen in court, or learning new technology.
So turn those weaknesses into opportunities for growth.
Exactly. Show them you're always trying to get better.
Here's another tough one. What if you disagree with the law you have to uphold?
That gets right to the core of a prosecutor's ethics. Sometimes your personal beliefs have to come second to your duty to the law, even if you think the law is wrong.
So you can't just impose your own views.
Right. You might talk about how important it is to follow the law as it is, maybe mention how you can advocate for change through the right channels, but make it clear that your feelings won't stop you from doing your job fairly.
Showing them you're both passionate and principled.
Exactly.
Okay, here's one they often ask towards the end. Do you have any questions for us?
This is your chance to be the interviewer. Show them you're engaged, that you've been paying attention.
So don't just say, nope, you covered it all.
Right. Have some good questions ready. That show you're interested in the role, the team, the whole organization.
Like, what kind of cases would I be working on? What are the opportunities for growth? What's the team like? Do you value diversity?
Exactly. Ask things that go beyond the basic information.
Show them you've done your homework.
It's been quite a journey. exploring all these aspects of prosecutor interviews, from answering those tough questions to understanding the challenges and rewards and those ethical dilemmas you might face.
And we can't forget RoleCatcher with those awesome AI tools to help you prepare.
It's a game changer for anyone serious about this career.
So to wrap things up, remember this. Being a prosecutor is about more than just winning cases. It's about justice, serving your community, making a real difference in people's lives. If that's what you're looking for, then go out there and crush that interview. You've got this